This is a research study about fitness app and technology utilization before and during the COVID-19 pandemic, conducted by Alex Chavez, Katie Olivares, Gabriela Peri, Samantha Simon, and Alexandra Gomez.
The COVID-19 pandemic has had an impact on physical activity levels, and we want to know how. More specifically, we want to look into how fitness tracking apps have had an effect on physical activity levels. We conducted research on our own focusing on 3 subtopics. The first is fitness apps and technology for exercise tracking. We found that devices are mostly accurate in tracking moderate activity levels and that people who used fitness apps experienced an increase in physical activity by 67%, as well as they have a lasting impact on forming habits. Next subtopic is physical activity during the COVID-19 pandemic. Studies found that individuals learn to adapt to situations, especially during the pandemic where lives, habits, and more have changed. It was found in a study by Timmy and others that 30% of the 13,000 people who participated increased their exercise during the pandemic. We also looked into if fitness apps were influencing motivation to begin exercising during the COVID-19 pandemic. The studies we looked at found that apps allow access to help people develop good methods to reach recommended physical activity levels and maintain them. In our study, we want to identify whether or not fitness technology and digital apps have been utilized more often as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
We will now be going over the methods section. The participants included in the study were above the age of 18 and a student at San Francisco State University. There were 27 responses reported, with only 21 participants who had fully completed the online survey. The online questionnaire was distributed through Qualtrics to collect the data. The survey questions gauged the participant in their exercise habits while examining the benefits of fitness technology utilization during and before the COVID-19 pandemic. Survey questions were distributed to obtain the information regarding the topic of the influence of fitness apps and technology during exercise before and during the pandemic. Survey questions were chosen for easier analysis. The procedure consisted of an online survey being distributed through Qualtrics. After the data was collected, we were able to analyze the relationship between fitness apps and exercise, which will lead us to our conclusion. There were 36 multiple choice and short answer questions posted to the online survey, which would take approximately 20 minutes for the participant to complete. The test being performed to analyze the relationship between variables is a chi-square test. The 3 general themes of our research include fitness apps and technology used for exercise, physical activity levels during the COVID-19 pandemic, and fitness apps influencing motivation to begin exercising during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, now we will review the results from our research study. And a big part of our research study was to analyze what types of technology was used before the COVID-19 pandemic and during the COVID-19 pandemic by our participants. And about 35.7% of our participants had or had acquired the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch is a tracking tool used to track activity levels, and it's also collaborative. You can share your results with other Apple Watch users. The second most popular item was the Fitbit, which is very similar to the Apple Watch. 21.4% of our participants had or had acquired the Fitbit. And then 14.3% of our participants used or started using the MyFitnessPal app. The MyFitnessPal app is very different from the other trackers that our participants had or had acquired. You can use the information from the trackers and input that into the MyFitnessPal app. The MyFitnessPal app also has an option where you can record your caloric intake, which is also very beneficial to participants who wanted to track aspects of their fitness in that way. Another important part of our research study was to analyze how often our participants were exercising during the COVID-19 pandemic. And about 50% of our participants exercised between 1 and 6 hours a week. The other portion of our participants exercised between 6 and 12 plus hours a week. The third most important part to our research was to see if these fitness apps influence motivation to start exercising more during the COVID-19 pandemic. And about 70% of our participants found themselves less motivated to exercise before the COVID-19 pandemic. And about 50% of our participants found themselves more motivated to exercise after the COVID-19 or during the COVID-19 pandemic. In our study, we sought to find out how these tools have influenced fitness habits and behaviors during the pandemic, and we wanted to analyze how the utilization of these tools will affect future fitness behaviors post-pandemic. Based off our results, we are to conclude that these various fitness technology apps have increased our participants' motivation to exercise during the COVID-19 pandemic.
In this section of the presentation, I will be discussing how our research findings about fitness apps and technology have been utilized prior and during the COVID-19 pandemic as compared to other studies. In previous literature reviews, it has been shown that there is a positive correlation between fitness apps and physical activity. Individuals who use fitness apps have experienced greater physical activity by 67%, and in our own research, we found that 91% of our participants exercise regularly and 75% utilize fitness apps and technology prior to the pandemic. More than half of our participants felt that the use of their fitness technology was either very effective or effective in monitoring their progress in physical activity. In another literature review, logistic regression models were used to examine differences in those who used digital platforms and those who did not, and the results displayed that participants who used digital platforms adhered to exercise while those who didn't did not. This suggests that digital platforms do indeed increase and maintain physical activity. While fitness apps/technology help monitor the progress and even increase levels of physical activity prior to the pandemic, our research, along with other studies, have displayed a range of outcomes for physical activity during COVID-19. Some studies resulted in a decline in physical activity among age groups except adults who were 65 and older, but in our research we focused on college-aged individuals, therefore our results differed compared to some studies, but not all. In a study by Romero Blanco et al., it resulted in both an increase in sedentary behavior and an increase in physical activity among college-age individuals, which is also in comparison to our research. In our study, a majority of participants felt less motivated to engage in physical activity during the pandemic, but when asked if fitness apps and technology increased their motivation to exercise during the pandemic, 50% said it either increased their motivation or improved their motivation to exercise, while the other 50% said it did not. Our research also presented that a majority of participants felt as if fitness technology changed their fitness habits for the better during the COVID-19 pandemic and improved their fitness habits overall. When examining physical activity and the usage of fitness apps and technology prior and during the COVID-19 pandemic, it is known that fitness apps/technology play a vital role in maintaining one's engagement in exercise. In our study specifically, the majority of participants owned fitness technology prior to the pandemic and continue to consistently use these apps and technology to stay active or to increase their motivation in physical activity. As we focused on college-age individuals in our research and their positive relationship with fitness apps and technology to stay physically active, there is still more research to be conducted on other age groups. Overall, the participants in our studies shared similar results in comparison to other studies and displayed how fitness apps and technology not only increase their motivation to stay active, but has also improved their fitness habits.